Joining us now is Fox News contributor Liz Peek. Well, Liz, I don't know what I was going to ask you before that, but I'm definitely going to ask you about the 15% growth that President Trump is talking about. Now, I don't know what time frame that is, whatever, but he's definitely bullish. He feels good about Kevin Warsh. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, look, I think Kevin Warsh is a great candidate. I think President Trump is absolutely within his rights to be very optimistic about the job he's going to do, reforming the Fed, putting our monetary policy in sounder shape, et cetera. I do think 15% is pretty aggressive. I think 5-6 is within the realm of possibility. And I think we're going to get there. I'm optimistic, too. There are a lot of good things going on in the country, Brian, and things that are not exactly measurable right now, like the productivity boom that AI is already beginning to deliver. A lot of things are heading in the right direction, but I'd have to say I'm not on board with 15%.
Well, maybe it's cumulative. Or if it's not cumulative, what kind of inflation would we get? Like, yeah, 15%, 15% annualized growth and inflation is 25.
No.
No, it's a little hard to imagine when the population's, I don't know, growing at what, 1%, 2%? Anyway, you know what? Go for the gold is what I say. That's what President Trump's doing.
I do want to move on to this, but I just think that we still put too much faith in the Federal Reserve and too much emphasis on the Federal Reserve and all the hooch that it controls. I digress. The proposed ban on professional or big institutional investors investing in the housing market, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, has hit a snag, a wall, a roadblock in Congress. The White has been pressuring the Republicans in Congress to add this investor ban to existing housing bills. There's pushback there. Is that a good thing for the market, Liz?
I think that the ban on institutions buying housing is probably not a very good idea. I have to say I'm probably biased because Elizabeth Warren is in favor of it, and pretty much I disagree with everything she thinks. I think what's happening in Congress is they have their own bill, which is much more traditional approach to solving a pricing problem, which is by increasing supply. And I think everybody recognizes we have, a 5 million unit shortage or something like that in the United States. We are way underhoused right now. So perhaps the most important thing to do, Dagan, is to get people building houses. How do you do that? Well, you lighten the regulations on what kind of houses you can build, more prefab housing, things like that. You speed up the regulatory and permitting process, particularly in places where prices are so high. By the way, a lot of those are blue states, blue cities, where regulations and horrible permitting processes make the prices maybe 100% more than they would be in a state like Texas, where they have more beneficial regulations. So I think President Trump is going about this, frankly, from a position that maybe a developer would take, which is he doesn't want prices to come down. No developer probably wants ever the price of house to come down. And he thinks that by, on the margin, reducing the demand for houses because institutions can't buy them is going to make a difference. I'm not sure that's the approach I would take.
Hey, I want to move on to one more with you, Liz, and I'm going to take the snap on this one, but I might hand it off to Dagan. Okay, so Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger backing a Democratic push to redraw the state's congressional map.
Their new proposal would potentially leave just a single Republican district in the state, fully Republican, a state that President Trump lost by only 5 points in 2024. Except Spanberger had this to say in 2019 about redistricting. Quote, gerrymandering is detrimental to our democracy, and it weakens the individual voices that form our electorates. Opposing gerrymandering should be a bipartisan priority.
Wow.
Can you put up those two maps? Because what it does is
this map is crazy. I actually looked at this map, Dig. I know you're going to take
Richmond. It's taking Richmond and dividing Richmond into almost in like 4 separate blue-leaning districts. I was born and raised in the 5th District, which is a Republican-leaning kind of a stronghold for the Republicans, or has been. Charlie Hurt's brother was our congressman from the 5th District, and it essentially destroys it, Liz.
Yeah, I really don't like this. I don't like gerrymandering at all. I think Spanberger was right when she said what she said, but obviously she's come full circle. Look, both Republicans and Democrats are doing this redistricting. And what we've seen over and over again is that when polling assesses or even votes, when voters are asked, do you want to have an independent commission to take care of the redistricting of your state? Every time they say yes, they don't want this to be a partisan effort. And yet over and over again in New York State, in California and so forth, it becomes very political. So, President Trump encouraged Texas to do redistricting, which was beneficial for Republicans. Unfortunately, the backlash, all these blue states now doing the same thing, they've lost the advantage, or they will with Virginia, that was gained through that Texas move. It was a big mistake.
Yep, everybody's doing it, and the Virginia map looks like Swiss string cheese being pulled away, basically.
Yeah.
That's how they gets crazy. Liz Peek, we got to leave it there. Great to see you, always. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right.